Hey y'all, what's up? This is Jesse Both, aka J-Bone, and I'm here back again. We're going to do another walkthrough video for the rookies, and this time it's for the Royal Open Tournament, which will be starting this coming Monday. Qualifications will start on Monday. You have 3 chances to qualify on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. If you fail one day, you can try again the next day. If you fail that day, you can try again the third day. If you fail that time, you will be out of the tournament. So if you do plan on practicing some of those rounds, just make sure you do give yourself the opportunity to qualify. So don't run the risk of missing the cut and then being left out of the opening round. Before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you to all. I hit the 600 sub mark last week, and pretty excited about that. It's good to see the channel growing the way it has grown, just trying to get to that 1,000 mark. It's kind of like the magical number for YouTube. Once you hit 1,000, fun things start to happen. So let's go ahead and get started. But first, make sure you check us out on Facebook. We've got a community page set up for everybody. It's called Golf Clash, the 19th hole. A really cool place where you can come ask questions, hang out. A lot of good people there looking to help you out if you have any kind of questions. And also make sure to hit that sub button if you don't mind, and hit that little alarm button next to it. That way you can be notified when I do release new videos and go live. Last night we did Throwdown Thursday. Had, I don't know, about 30-35 people there, and we had 20 people play friendlies. That means I played 20 friendlies in a row. Took about 2.5 hours, but we had a lot of fun in the chat, just hanging out and have a little bit of fellowship and playing some Golf Clash with other people that enjoy the game. So here we go. As you see, we got the Royal Tournament. Definitely a theme because of the Royal Wedding that's getting ready to take place. So pretty cool. Be interesting to see what kind of golf ball they release for this. We'll see. And we're going to go ahead and get started. This is I think it's the Green Oak Point course. I know a lot of people seem to think this is a tough course and have issues with it. There are a lot of shots that involve using curl and spin off the tee box, but hopefully, after you watch this guide, you'll have a little bit better of an understanding of this course and the different paths that you can take on each hole. And it'd be up to you to figure out which of those paths fit your game the best. But hopefully I can give you some information to help that be a little bit easier of a task, and hopefully help you improve your tournament standings. That's what I'm here for. My main goal is to help you in the tournaments and to see you improve from tournament to tournament. So if you ever have any questions, you can look me up on Facebook. This will be the name that you will look for on Facebook. Okay, you got 2 O's. So just send me a friend request to that name, and then you can message me on my messenger. This is also the name that I will be playing friendlies under for my Throwdown Thursday stream, which will be basically every other week. We won't do it the week of a tournament, but in between tournaments, we definitely will do it. So we're going to go ahead and get started on hole number 1. Hole number 1, we start off with is a par 3. Right off the bat, we start with a par 3. And there are, several ways you can play this hole. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw little circles next to landing zones. Okay? And then we'll kind of talk about each of the paths for this hole. I would suggest in the rookie you have your Viper would be a good club to use on this hole with the curl and backspin, topspin. Definitely a solid choice of club if you have a sniper. A little bit, like level 4, level 5 sniper. You could definitely use that club on this course, on this hole. Even if you have the big dog with some backspin, you could use that club on this hole. So you have a good variety of clubs to use on this hole. Now you just got to figure out which way you want to play the hole. I would suggest using either a Marlin ball or a Navigator Quasar. I like the ability to have a little bit of side spin on your shot, but if you do want to attack this one with the basic ball, you can probably get away with that as well. But I would suggest using a ball with just a little bit of side spin, because the way I suggest to go is I like to go with this right route right here. If you go that way, that's good with a right to left tailwind or any kind of tailwind. What you're going to do on that shot is you're going to use a couple bars of backspin and left spin, and basically you just want to adjust your ball path towards the hole, a little bit short of the hole, because if you do get too aggressive, your ball will roll through the green, and we don't really want that. So just make sure to aim that ball guide a little bit short of the hole, and let the ball roll to the hole if you go that path. If you're going to go the center path, this is a much more direct path. For what you're doing here, you will be jumping over the sand trap, trying to hit basically right off that fringe right there and rolling it straight towards the hole. This will be the route you will take that will give you the best chance of getting a hole-in-one on this hole, and definitely a good hole to take. It's a good path to take if you have a straight tailwind. I would not use too much spin on this, definitely not backspin. At most you're going to use maybe 1 bar of topspin. And then the other route to take is this left route. Probably not many people will be using this in the rookie division, but some will probably use it as they go a little bit higher in the divisions. This would be a shot where you use curl, side spin, and this will be a good choice if you do have a headwind or like a left to right side wind. But for the rookies, you will probably either use the right or the middle approach to this hole. So we will move on to our next hole. Hole number 2. And we've got a par 4 right here. Okay. There are several ways you can play this hole. There's a safe way to play it, and then there's a very ultra aggressive way to play it. In my opinion, the people who are going the more aggressive route and getting that really good opportunity to get that eagle are the ones that are going to be finishing in the top 5 of the tournament. If you do not get the eagle on this hole, you might have a difficult time getting in that top 3. But if you don't feel comfortable with that shot, I definitely wouldn't attempt it because you could really hurt yourself in the end. So let's see. Landing zones for this hole is going to be right there, and right there. And we're going to talk about each of them. The club that I would suggest using would be like an extra mile. If you're possibly going to go this right route, which would be this way, you could maybe have the big topper because you do need a large amount of topspin to make that shot. Ball wise, I would suggest the Quasar, but if you have a Titan ball, definitely a Titan ball. And if you have Berserker balls, if you're going to go that right route, use the Berserker balls. So basically, if you're going to go that right route, what you're going to do is you're going to have to have at least 4 to 5 bars of topspin on your club. So if you don't have a club with that much topspin, this might not be a great route for you to take. So let me leave it at that. If you do, you'll try to be landing in the circle zone, and what you really want to do is you want to land your shot right up in here with just enough topspin to roll out to the green, or at least onto the that fringe right there for an easy chip. And that's how you will do that shot. And make sure you do remember you have to have at least 4 to 5 bars of topspin. I've seen people with a left to right tailwind like this take their shot here, bounce it over here with a lot of topspin, and do a type of a similar shot where it hits about right there and rolls. I would say that's like a very technical and a very risky shot to take. I've seen it done, but I haven't seen it done with great consistency. So I don't know that I would suggest taking that shot, but it's definitely there. Maybe that's a shot that you would get out there and practice before you did it. Just put it out there that it's there, and it's up to you to figure out if you want to use it or not. The safe shot on this hole, which if you have lower level clubs, would be this shot right here. You can do this with an extra mile. You can do this with the quarterback. Any of those clubs you can do it with. Basically, you're just taking your shot right here, a couple bars of topspin. You don't want too many bars of topspin because you will end up in the rough bunker area here with too much topspin. But all you're trying to do is hit it here, bounce it over here, land here, and roll it into this zone right here. And from there you will have a thorn chip to the green for a possible eagle chip in that way. So if you don't feel comfortable going to the right side, that right there would be the best method and give you the best chance of getting the eagle in a different way. So there is that. That is hole number 2. And here is hole number 3. And hole number 3 is a par 5. So this right here is your first credible, good chance to get the albatross. This is definitely a hole where you have a chance to get an albatross, but you better get the eagle on it or you're going to be in trouble in this tournament. This is definitely a must eagle hole in my opinion. And there's really only one way to play this hole. You're going to play it with your landing zone in this area right here. You can use your extra mile. You can use a quarterback. It's definitely possible to make it with the quarterback. It might require a little bit of overpowering. I did it with a level 5 quarterback. It was easy with no problem. With the quarterback, you end up in here. With extra mile, you're going to end up maybe in this zone right here. Okay. The farther you get up on your drive into that second zone, the easier shot you're going to have towards the green. Okay. And when I'm going at the green, I'm going to either use the Viper or a sniper. Definitely if you have the sniper, that's definitely the more viable option just because of the accuracy that it brings. If you do have a Guardian that has a good amount of backspin on it, leveled up a little bit, you can use the Guardian and go directly at the green with a lot of backspin. Your chances at getting the albatross with that club are probably a lot lower, but it's definitely an option for you out there if you're a Guardian type person. The type of ball that I would recommend for this hole would be either the Quasar, or if you have them, use the Titan ball. That extra amount of power really would come in handy, especially on that second shot. It could mean, having your shot aiming in here and having to overpower it. But if you have a power ball, you're definitely going to be able to reach up into this area without having to overpower it. And anytime you can get away without having to overpower a shot, it's much better because it helps you with your accuracy. Because you're just much more likely to hit that perfect shot if you're not having to overpower your shot as well. So let's see. Alright, so the second shot is going to be a little bit more of an interesting shot. Hopefully you're in somewhere in this zone right here. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be landing your ball right in here with a couple bars of topspin. If you're using a big dog, 1 or 2 bars of topspin. Sniper, Viper, same way. Just trust your ball guide. If you have a sniper ball guide, you can take the edge of that ball guide right up to the edge of the hole. If you're using a big dog or a Viper, maybe put the edge of that ball guide right there close to the edge of the green in the fringe, and expect to get a little roll out past that. So you just kind of have to eyeball it and mentally visualize the shot towards the hole, and maybe get lucky and get that albatross. There is a chance at an albatross if you do take your shot up into here and roll it up here, and then it does roll back to the hole. You can get very close to getting the albatross that way as well. So if you want to play the odds with that, it's definitely easier when you have a club with a long ball guide like the sniper to actually see how that shot plays out. But for the mostly most people will be using that more straight on shot right here. They call it the bump, the rough bump, and that's what you'll be doing mostly. So we move on to our next hole, and this is hole number 4, and we got a par 4. On this hole you're going to be using probably a Viper, sniper, or a Guardian. You really would like a club that has a little bit of backspin onto the green if possible. So definitely take your long iron that has a good amount of backspin just in case you need to use it. I would suggest using the Quasar or a Navigator ball here. You definitely want something with a little bit more power, and that's why I say the Quasar or the Navigator, and not the Marlin. If you have a Titan ball, you can use a Titan ball, although I think on the rookie level that might be a little bit overkill. But that's up to you. You gotta make decisions depending on how many and what kind of balls you have in your inventory. So basically you're going to be using probably your extra mile in this hole. If you do for some reason not have the extra mile and have to use your quarterback, you can take your shot up into here with your quarterback, and then from there you will have a long shot with your wood where you'll bounce it there and over that bunker and rough. You probably want to use like 1 bar of topspin just to get it over that hill right there into the green. Taking the shot this way, what you're going to be doing is landing it here with topspin and some right curl to get it to that second zone. But that's really only if you do not have the clubs to reach with from the left side, which I would think a majority of people would, but if you don't, going that right way is the way to go. And I would suggest using a club like the Big Dog to make that second shot if you do go to the right path. So normally though, what I would suggest is you want to be landing your ball right in here with a good amount of topspin, at least 3 to 4 bars of topspin, because you want to make sure you have enough to jump over those bushes, land it here, and roll into this zone right there. The reason you have the power ball is to make that jump, because if you do go in those bushes, you will be stuck in those bushes. Those bushes are not fake bushes. They will stop your ball and give you a lot of problems if you roll into them, and that goes for any of the bushes you see on this course. Okay, all of those bushes are in play, so keep that in mind. So make sure if you do go through that fairway into the rough here, make sure you do have your rough iron that has a decent amount of distance, because you can still make it to the green from that spot. Your shot onto the green is a very tricky one because that green kind of has a lot of contours to it, dips and valleys. So making that eagle shot is going to be tough, and you won't see a lot of people do it, but you will see some people do it. The best way to get that eagle is to land your ball just short of the hole, and there's a little bit of a ridge that funnels down to the hole, at least there used to be. We'll have to wait and see if they make any changes to the green, but as far as I know, it's still there, so if you can get it at that hole, it might funnel down into the hole. So it's definitely a very tricky shot, and definitely one that you should try to get out and practice before the tournament. Make sure I didn't have any extra tips on this hole. Nope. Okay, so we can move on to our next hole. This is hole number 5, and this is a par 5 right here. This is probably one of the trickier holes on this course. There's a few that I would kind of put there together in a group, and this would be one of them. I would suggest bringing your Big Dog, or if you don't have a very good level Big Dog, your Viper. You definitely need something with a good amount of curl, and that's really what you need on this hole, is a good amount of curl for your second shot. I know the Big Dog has it, and the Viper does too, once it gets up to a certain level, and I cannot recall what level that would be at, but you can go to Golf Clash Notebook, pull up the Viper club and see how the curl progresses on that club. But the Big Dog would be the club that I would suggest for this shot. Definitely want to use a ball with some spin on it. So if you got Quasars, those would be sufficient. But I would recommend a Katana or even a Titan if you can spare those balls as well. But you can still get the job done with the Quasar if you don't have the funds or the balls to use those upper level balls. Or you could also just consider using them in the weekend round if you get there. So basically there are there's really only one way to play this hole off the tee box, and it's not looking this way. Do not look that way. I would not suggest going that way at all. The shot to the green is possible going that way, but in my opinion it's much more of a difficult line. And if you can make the shot go into the green that way, you might as well go left. So what you want to do is you do want to land your ball right about in here, okay? And you're going to be using at least 2 bars of topspin, full right spin with your ball, and just, I would use a good amount of curl. I don't know that I would say use completely full curl, but if you're using the extra mile and it's a low level extra mile like a 6, 5, 6, I would use all the curl on that club. If you're using an extra mile with more curl, maybe 2/3 of the curl on it, because you do want to end up right in this area right there. If for some reason you do end up short right here, and you will not be able to make the second shot that I show you, I will show you an alternate shot for that. Alright, so for your next shot, you are going to be going up and around the bend. Okay, you're going to bounce there, over that sand bunker, and roll to the green, filter down to the hole. For that shot, you're going to need at least 2 bars of topspin, most likely, max side spin, and max curl for that shot. Okay. I think for the drive earlier on this shot, I told you 2 bars of topspin. You can possibly go with more. Just kind of, be a good judge of that. Depending on the club that you have, you do not want to go too far over here towards the edge of that rough, in fairway, because then you might be affected by those trees. You do want to stay in here in this zone right there for that shot. So back to the second shot. If you do come up short here on the fairway, like right there, you do have a chance to go over these trees, bouncing in here and rolling up to the green that way. It will be a little bit more of a difficult shot. You will need to use your topspin and some left curl to get it to the hole going that way. Alright, so that is how to play that hole. And let's move on to our next hole. Hole number 6. And this is another par 3. For this hole right here, you can use your... mess that up. We'll just wait for it to go away. This would be a hole to use a quarterback. You could definitely use the extra mile if you have that. Those would be the 2 clubs that I would suggest. You possibly could use your sniper depending on the level of it. So you could always put it in your bag and then decide whether or not you want to use it once you see what it can do. But the quarterback would definitely be a good club for this hole. And I would suggest using the Quasar ball for this hole because of the side spin. You do want to land your ball in this area right here. Okay. If you have a headwind, which we won't, you would use probably about 1 bar of backspin. Most likely on the rookie we will have a tailwind though, so you will be using about 2 bars of backspin. I would say completely max spin to the right, and we're going to be using, I wouldn't say completely max curl, but close to max curl, because what you're going to do is you're going to take your ball up here, hopefully you'll bounce here, you're going to skip right about here, roll up around there and down to the hole. That's the shot you want to take. You just want to keep in mind you do not want to land your ball short on this hole, because if it lands anywhere in here, it will filter down to the green. There's a ridge right about there where I drew that line. If you get anywhere to the right side of that ridge, you're good. You're probably going to be really close to the hole. If you go anywhere on the left side of that line, your ball will probably filter down to the bottom of the green and usually just roll right off the edge of the green onto the fringe. From there you can still try to make the chip, but I'd rather be making a 2-yard putt than a chip from down there at the bottom of that green uphill. So it's not really a chip that you're used to making with a severe uphill slope to it. The other option for this hole is to go over here, land it over here, bounce, up, skip, roll up here at the top, and then back down to the hole. If you go that way, you're going to use a couple bars of topspin, but it's definitely a much more risky approach to this hole, unless you have prior experience doing it on a different account or something. I wouldn't suggest going the right way. I'd suggest staying with the left route on this hole. So here we go. Oh, what did I do? Alright, so we're moving on to our next hole, and it's another par 3. This hole is one of those holes where you got to have a little bit of luck to get to the hole. It's kind of like the lottery. You got to have some luck. If you don't have that perfect bounce, you're probably not going to get the hole-in-one, but it's definitely possible. Most of the time, you'll probably end up really close to the hole, or like right on line with getting that hole-in-one, and it'll stop short. That's normally what happens on this hole. I would suggest using your extra mile, or even a quarterback. You could definitely use a quarterback on this hole. I've always used my extra mile, never had any issues, but your quarterback would definitely be a viable option for this hole. Whatever you feel most comfortable with is what you should go with. I would suggest a ball with a little bit of side spin. You can get away with using a marlin ball on this hole, or if you have the quasars, go ahead and use the quasar. You do want to put at least 2 to 3 bars of top spin when setting up this shot, and a little bit of left spin, at least 2 bars. And the reason for that is, when you make your drive here, you're going to hit somewhere right in here. I like to hit right underneath that shadow. That's kind of like my aiming point for this hole, that bottom of that shadow. And then from there, that's where I adjust for my wind. But you like your ball to hit, skip, and roll along this ridge. Now, if your ball doesn't have enough speed, or it's too far to the right, it will hit here and roll down like this. And it'll still end up pretty close to the hole, but that's not the route you need to take if you want to try to get the hole-in-one. What you need to do is you want your ball to hug top edge of this ridge as long as possible, and then roll down to the hole. And that is your pathway to the ace on this hole. If you can figure out the perfect spin to keep your ball along the top ridge of the hole of this green, that is where you have a good chance at the ace. If you can just hit your shot. If you just want to get the birdie and get out of there, you can hit your shot and roll this way, and it's going to be fine too. But your chances of the ace are very dramatically decreased going that way. So ball with spin and a few bars of left spin to keep your ball along the top edge of that ridge. If you don't care about that, just go at it with no spin at all, just accept the top spin for your shot, and you will get next to the hole, but you might not get have as good of a chance at the ace if you don't go with the upper ridge approach. So here we are. This is going to be a very important hole this tournament. I think this is going to be the hole that makes and breaks people. In my opinion, this is the hole where you need to get the eagle, but it's very easy to mess up and not get it. You really have to make a very technical shot on this hole, and if you're just a little bit off on your wind measurements and adjustments, it could be the difference between an eagle and a par. And that's a 2-stroke swing once you hit that weekend round, and 2 strokes in the weekend can mean 30 to 40 spots on the leaderboard. Okay. So you have 2 options. If you have a quarterback, you might possibly be able to use it on this hole. It just depends on the level of quarterback you have, because you are going to need at least 4 bars of topspin to make the jump from here. Okay. A lot of people will try to take the route where they jump over the bunker, but you need to have at least 4 bars of topspin. So even possibly could be using your extra mile. Now the problem with that is, depending on the wind we get, sometimes you do find yourself in between clubs right there. So when you go to try to adjust your wind back, you try to adjust back for your wind, you do find problems running into that red line that won't let you aim your shot farther back. And normally what you would say is, that wouldn't be a big deal. But this is a downhill shot from the tee box. So keep in mind your ball travels farther than it normally would. And a lot of times when people aren't able to adjust their shot back, they end up hitting that rough and bunker right there. And that right there is definitely a hole killer. So definitely, you might have to mess around with the ball you use and change the ball once you get into the tournament and see what the wind's going to be like. I would suggest something with some side spin again. Quasar, Navigator, Titan ball. Especially if you are going to use that quarterback, you definitely probably need to use that Titan ball. I have made the jump with the extra mile in the past, and when I usually do that, I usually just do full top spin, hit it here. I jump over. I usually land somewhere in here, and the ball rolls onto the green. Done that many times. I know it's tried and true, and it works well. You just got to figure out the measurement for that initial drive to make sure you don't go too long into that rough or that bunker. Now another option for this hole would be to go with go completely over the bunker with the rough bump, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to land it in that section of the rough. Probably at least, I would say at least 2 to 3 bars of top spin and some right spin. So once you hit that rough, you bump off the rough towards the hole that way. Possibly could get the ace on this hole. I've never done it. I've gotten like really close to it, so I know it's definitely possible. Going over the bunker is definitely an option for those that don't have a driver with a lot of top spin. Okay, so maybe if you're playing the lower level and you got a lower level extra mile, you don't have the top spin. Going over the bunker and using a little bit of top spin you do have might give you enough to get to that green, and that would be the reason why you'd want to use that power ball to give that little bit extra distance off with your driver. Alright, so this is our last hole of the day and of the tournament. Hole number 9, par 5, and arguably this might be the toughest hole. I don't know, I think it's hole 5 where you have to make a similar type of drive. Hole 5 might be a little bit tougher in my opinion, but they're kind of just both right there with each other, I would say. So let's go ahead and once again, that's out of play. Don't even look at it, okay? Forget that it's even there. What you're going to be doing is, I would say you want to make sure you have your big dog, and that will be for your second shot. You'll use your big dog. You have an upper level sniper, Viper. You could probably use those as well, but you definitely need to make sure you do have a wood with a little bit extra distance on it for the second shot if you do want to have a chance at the eagle. Off the tee box, I would definitely go with probably the extra mile in the rookie. You could possibly try the quarterback, but you definitely probably have to overpower it and use all of its top spin with a really good ball. But definitely the extra mile will definitely make it. Off the tee box, what you want to do is you're going to land it right about in here, okay? And you want to put enough full top spin, full right spin, and a little bit of curl to the right, because you do want to hit and roll and bounce it over here into this zone right there. Even if you're a little bit short, that's okay, but somewhere in that zone right there, and you just kind of thread the needle to get it between those bunkers. But once you do that, your second shot is not a tough shot. It just kind of looks intimidating. One thing to keep in mind is when you are taking your drive to this spot right here, this bounce spot right here, it is a downhill drive, so make sure you don't aim too close to the edge of that rough, and give yourself at least 1 ring cushion just in case you do hit a great shot and not a perfect shot. I would add an extra at least 2 miles per hour to your wind when you're going to make your adjustment. So let's just say your wind is 4 miles an hour. I would adjust like you're adjusting for a 6 mile an hour wind to add in that extra for the downhill shot. Now for your second shot here, hopefully you're using your big dog. You're going to be bouncing it right in here, you can use maybe a little bit of right curl. Don't use too much right curl. If you hit too much right curl, these trees might come into play, so keep that in mind. But what you're really trying to do is just hit here, bounce over the rough, and you want to land it right there on that little area of fairway, and it'll trickle down to the hole. This green slopes downhill towards the hole, so as long as you can get the ball on the green, your ball should roll towards the hole. And again, for this hole, I would say you want to make sure you use a ball with some power and spin. So Quasar for sure. If you have a Katana or a Titan, those would be a possibility as well. And that's pretty much all I've got. Hopefully from this guide you all will learn a few things about this course. It is a tough course, but it's definitely not a course that I think isn't one that y'all can score well on. I would say anywhere from -13 to a -15 is a really good score on this course. I would say at least a -27 is what it's going to take to finish in the top 10 on the weekend. And I don't know that I see there being as close of a grouping in this tournament as there was the last one, where one stroke could like be the difference of 30 spots. There will be some people shooting good scores, but I don't see it being as close of a grouping as it was the last tournament. So that's good news. So if you play a good steady round and weekend, you should find yourself at least in the top 20. I would say a -25 or so would put you in the top 20, and that's just kind of my guesstimate. Once I get out and play the course, that could change. On Monday I will have my wind guide out where I go through the course, and I show you all of the different wind speeds from the different various angles of the shots you will take. And hopefully I will have out my qualification holes where I, one by one, have them uploaded to my site where you can go and look at them individually, so you can actually see what the tournament holes look like with the wind that you're going to face in that way as well. And that might be a little bit later. That might not be until like late Monday, Tuesday, when those holes start appearing on my YouTube. And hopefully this weekend I will get some of my practice holes out playing on Tour 5 on the course. Been working on that as well. So lots of things going on my end, tournament weekend. Plus then I have to play my rounds as well. So, you know, I have a pretty busy schedule whenever these tournaments come around. I do plan on streaming on hopefully Monday evening, maybe Wednesday evening, and that's for now what I will be doing. Tuesday is my son's kindergarten graduation, so we'll probably be doing that and then going out to eat afterwards. So I probably won't be streaming Tuesday, just for everybody's knowledge. And then the opening and weekend round stream schedule won't be out until a little bit later in the week. So until next time, I thank you all for joining me for this whole guide walkthrough for the Royal Open Tournament. And if you liked the stream, you found something useful in it, give it a good thumbs up for me. And if you hadn't hit that sub button, hit that sub button. Tell a friend, tell your grandma, you know, tell them to go download Golf Clash and start playing with you. It's always more fun to play this game with people you know. And definitely, you know, with friendlies and stuff like that. So anyways, until next time, as always, happy golfing and God bless.